You want to talk about fans being upset? You want to talk about fans being aggravated, fans being frustrated? Last night's game, you just can't make this up. The Indiana Fever were up double digits, and they proceed to get outcoached the entire second half of that game.
That's not just a bold opinion, it shows a fan base that is openly upset. On June 6th at Barclays Center, the Indiana Fever built a 12-point lead, but it disappeared as the game went on, ending in an 83-75 loss to New York. And now, instead of blaming the players, many of the loudest fans are calling for the head coach to be fired.
ISO ball. No screens being set for her. No pick and rolls. Maybe three pick and rolls. They were like slip and rolls. Off-ball screens. Not creative. Because Monique Billings did set a few off-ball screens. But if we're seeing that the New York Liberty is fighting through them and Caitlin Clark's generating no space off those screens, what should we do? I don't know. Maybe set multiple.
But let's look at the offense everyone is upset about. New York applied pressure and used traps, and Indiana's response was to give the ball to almost everyone except Caitlin Clark. The team ran isolation plays and pick and rolls that didn't lead anywhere, with no real movement or adjustments. When a defense shuts down your main playmaker, the coach is supposed to find ways to get her back involved. But for long stretches in the second half, that didn't happen, and that's why the frustration feels justified.
We were also told that Stephanie Weiss is defensive guru. The New York Liberty, defensively, well, offensively, they made 2 3-pointers. The New York Liberty made 2 3-pointers that entire game. 2 for 18. They couldn't hit a shot to save their life. We lucked out in that department. They shot 36% from the floor. We lucked out in that department. They were getting some good looks.
But what this rant leaves out is what actually decided the game. New York didn't win because they shot well. In fact, they had one of their worst shooting nights of the season. Even so, they still won the game. The difference came at the free throw line. Breanna Stewart played without Sabrina, who was out with an injury, and she attacked the basket constantly, finishing with 30 points and a franchise record 18 made free throws. As a team, New York attempted 41 free throws compared to Indiana's 15. You can sometimes adjust for poor coaching, but it's very hard to overcome a 26-shot difference at the free throw line.
Brace yourselves, folks. Brace yourselves. There's not going to be a lot of final 83-75. The Indiana Fever lose to the New York Liberty in a game they were leading a majority of. In a game they were leading going into the fourth quarter. But Stephanie White, you're the worst franchise in sports. I can't find one positive comment. Damn. As Coach White said last game, this is the standard. Bad offense.
And this is where it stops being just a single bad game and starts looking like a pattern. This wasn't the first time Indiana lost control after building a lead. They had already blown double-digit leads against the Washington Mystics and the Golden State Valkyries earlier in the season. Just days before this game, they were beaten badly by the Portland Fire, losing 100-84. Against New York, the collapse followed a familiar script, a 19-4 run late in the game, driven by Breanna Stewart getting to the line repeatedly, while Indiana's defense slowly fell apart. A team that started the season seen as a championship contender is now sitting at 5-5. That's not just one bad night, it's a trend.
It's a serious question. 21 missed layups and bunnies tonight. You almost have to try to miss that many. White needs to be fired tonight. She and Mitchell literally threw this game away. 12-point lead in the third with Clark on the floor. Then she's benched, and New York goes on a 9-0 run to end the quarter. Mitchell, 7 for 21, 2 for 8 from 3, 5 turnovers and multiple missed and by multiple missed layups, we mean wide open, fast break, nobody around you.
One of the most repeated claims among fans is that Caitlin Clark was benched and used only as a decoy, or even taken out of the offense on purpose. But the actual game situation tells a clearer story. With 6 minutes and 26 seconds left in the fourth quarter and Indiana leading by 3, Clark picked up her 5th foul, which is why she had to sit. Foul trouble, not strategy. And this wasn't a one-time issue either, it was the 4th straight game where she had at least 4 fouls. Afterward, she didn't blame the referees and said some of those fouls were simply dumb, taking responsibility herself. Even her coach, Stephanie White, didn't blame officiating and instead pointed to Indiana's own defensive mistakes. When your star player is in foul trouble late in games for 4 straight outings, that is a real problem, but it's a different issue than the one fans are arguing about.
Folks, if I'm the media, if I'm the broadcast partners, I'm not happy. And if I'm the owners, I'm not happy. Because when they renegotiate the broadcast deal, the partners, they're not paying as much as they're going to be paying now for the WNBA. They're going to be paying significantly less. And who's going to be holding the bag once that media rights deal money is not coming in? Who's holding the bag to pay the players?
Then the discussion shifts to money, and this is where the stakes really matter. Let's get the facts straight. The fan in that clip is worried about the league's media deal, and that concern isn't completely wrong, it's just focused on the wrong timeline. In July 2024, the WNBA signed an 11-year media rights agreement as part of a larger NBA deal. According to Front Office Sports, it has grown to about $3.1 billion, with an average yearly value around $281 million, up from roughly $40 to $60 million under the previous contract. That deal runs through 2036, so it isn't being renegotiated anytime soon. However, there is a key detail: it includes reset clauses after the third season in 2028, where the value can be reviewed. On top of that, a new collective bargaining agreement signed in May 2026 runs through 2032 and links player salaries directly to league revenue, with top salaries starting around $1.4 million and averages projected near $583,000. This is why everything is connected. If the league's biggest star is consistently underused or the product loses casual viewers, ratings could drop, and that could weaken the 2028 reset negotiations. That's the real argument underneath all the noise.
Adam Silver, step in. The same way you sent Luka to a different destination, you step in and you send CC to a different destination.
Which brings us to the trade talk, the idea that Adam Silver should step in and send her somewhere else. The emotion behind it is understandable, but in reality, it doesn't hold up. Caitlin Clark is the biggest economic driver this league has ever seen. The 2025 season became the most watched WNBA season since 1998, and she was at the center of that surge in attention. No general manager would trade a player who has that kind of impact just because the offense struggled for a few stretches in June. People often compare it to the Luka Doncic situation, but that kind of trade is extremely rare and shocking precisely because it almost never happens. A franchise doesn't move a generational, league-changing star because of a short-term slump. So when fans talk about trading her, what they're really expressing is fear that her talent is being wasted. That concern is understandable, but the solution they're suggesting doesn't match reality.
Now, if I had to guess, I think this number, viewership-wise, is going to be pretty nice. It's going to be 1.5 to 2.1 million people tuning in to say, oh man, look what they do to Cece. Oh man, they reduce her to a role player. Sheesh.
And listen to what he's predicting there, around 1.5 to 2 million viewers tuning in, not out of celebration, but just to watch the controversy unfold around the league's brightest star. Sit with how unusual that is. The attention is real, but it's shifting into something more negative, where people are watching mainly to be angry. That's a risky place for any sports product, because outrage-driven views don't necessarily turn into long-term fans, season ticket sales, or stable media value. The league's growth has largely been built on excitement and the feeling of witnessing something historic in real time. When that excitement turns into frustration and grievance watching, the long-term picture becomes less stable. The Fever aren't just losing games in this moment, they're also putting at risk the very narrative that has made them one of the most valuable stories in the sport.
I'm not even going to say the supporting cast, the consistency from the other two in the big three, Kelsey and AB. They have one good game, two stinkers, one good game, three stinkers. So you guys are getting paid over $1 million. Calling you the best big three in the league. Better act like it. Big three, not a big one. We all want it to be a big one.
So let's put the whole picture together, because the truth here is more complicated, and more interesting, than either side wants to admit. Start with what the critics are right about. The offense has looked disorganized at times. When a strong defense like New York's takes away your best actions, you have to adjust, and Indiana hasn't consistently done that this season. The core trio of Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston has also been inconsistent. When one player has a big night, the others often go quiet, and the chemistry doesn't fully click. In this game, both Mitchell and Boston shot under 40%, and the team also missed several easy, point-blank opportunities at the rim. Even head coach Stephanie White has pointed to those execution issues afterward. For a team built to compete, this kind of uneven start is disappointing, and the frustration from fans is real and not just made up, it comes from people who care. But the part of the argument that gets left out is just as important. Caitlin Clark didn't sit late in the game because she was being turned into a decoy or for some hidden strategy, she sat because she fouled out of the action. Her 5th foul came at a crucial moment, and it was the 4th straight game where she had serious foul trouble, something she herself admitted responsibility for. The Liberty also didn't win because they were dominant from the field, they actually had a poor shooting night. They won largely because Breanna Stewart consistently got to the free throw line, while Indiana didn't. Those kinds of details aren't schematic failures you fix with a clever play call, they're the small, physical, in-game swings that decide close games. Then there's the coach. The calls to fire Stephanie White ignore the bigger context. She was Coach of the Year in 2023 with Connecticut, led the Sun to back-to-back semifinal runs, and has a long history with Indiana as both a player and coach, including a finals appearance. It's fair to critique her decisions in specific moments, but the idea that she suddenly forgot how to coach doesn't match her track record. In fact, when she was hired, many of the same fans now calling for her job were excited about the direction she would bring. And this is where the stakes go beyond one game. The WNBA is in a key financial moment. The media rights deal, worth over $3 billion and running through 2036, can be revisited in 2028, and the new collective bargaining agreement ties player salaries directly to league growth. That means attention is everything. Right now, a huge portion of that attention revolves around Caitlin Clark. So when she looks frustrated, when bench interactions get tense, or when trade talk starts, it's not just team drama, it becomes part of the league's larger growth narrative. That's the real tension here. Not just Clark versus the coach, or players versus systems, but the gap between high expectations and a team still learning how to function as a unit. All of it is happening under the biggest spotlight women's basketball has ever had, with real financial consequences tied to whether it all comes together.